keepers, and nothing but cakes. Panama City. Congratulations from the only local sports talk station, ESPN Northwest Florida.
From the Auburn Sports Network, Alpha Insurance presents Auburn Sports Today. Here's Brad Law.
All right, the waiting is almost over. It's game day for Auburn basketball in Tuscaloosa. 3 of Bruce Pearl's Auburn teams have won in enemy territory. He understands the challenge ahead of his squad tonight.
You know, Nate's always had a great offensive mind and concepts. You know, they're making over 11 threes a game. They shoot at 45% at home. They've been really, really tough to beat at home. The margins of victory at home are pretty astounding. They were last year. We played them well twice last year. I think we led, let's say, for 60 some odd minutes in those 2 80-minute games, and just weren't able to finish. They obviously they're a great team a year ago as well. So we recognize that we got beat twice by them last year, and that's something that at Auburn, when that's your rival, it just obviously doesn't sit great. I would think to this point that I've said it a few times as we've stepped up in play. I think I said it when we played Baylor, and then it maybe next was when I said it when I played Texas A&M, and I think I'll say it now. This is probably the best team we've played so far.
Auburn looks for its 12th straight victory overall and to remain the only unbeaten team in the SEC. Tip-off is 6:30 Central. Our network coverage with Andy Burcham and Randall Dickey comes your way at 6 Central from Coleman Coliseum. Until tomorrow, I'm Brad Law for Auburn Sports Today.
Home to the NFL. WGSX Lynn Haven. WVLQ Port St. Joe. ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the next evolution of sports talk radio. The biggest stories and the biggest reactions.
Now.
And now we're taking...
With the first pick.
This is the last ball you got in the bag.
The Inside Drive. From college to the pros, interviews with the newsmakers, sports betting, your phone calls, and more. And now, The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey. Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios on ESPN Northwest Florida.
And good Wednesday morning. You're listening to The Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. As you heard, we're sitting inside these beautiful Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios. You can give us a call anytime during the show, 850-215-6290. It is Wednesday, so that means we'll be joined by Keith Fleming at the top of the hour to go over all of the DFS action for this upcoming championship weekend on the NFL slate. Even though there's only 2 games, still a lot of opportunity to jump in on that DFS action, both between the 2 games as well as showdown picks for both games. We may talk a little bit about the Farmers Insurance Open going on, or Farmers Insurance Classic, whatever it's called, going on over there at Torrey Pines as well. But yeah, I don't know if Jay's going to be joining us today or not. Hopefully he's feeling a little bit better. I know there's some stuff going around, that's for sure. It's the winter time, so that means colds and all that fun stuff is happening. But got DJ Davey Crockett here with me, and we've got some of the Tiny Mates previewing Squeezy Mates and the tiny Squeezy Mates previewing the 2 championship games coming up this weekend, which we are looking forward to. But you can listen to us live and local on 104.3 in Panama City Beach, 101.9 in Port St. Joe, and along the Forgotten Coast, Facebook, X, and YouTube. Just search ESPN Northwest Florida. While you're there, he's listening in. He's got the flu. He just commented on Facebook
Jay
page.
Bird, hope you're feeling a little bit better, man.
Yeah.
Get you some vitamins, whatever the ones the doctor tell you. to get.
Yes. Drink some fluids, eat some vitamins, and it's it looks like it's going to rain a little bit the next few days anyway, so probably not a whole lot of lessons going on there, Jay. We may have to you may have to comment your picks later on, because we will not be doing a show tomorrow or Thursday, or tomorrow or Friday, because today is Wednesday, and then next week we will have national programming going on, and then I'm hoping to be back in the saddle come whatever day that would be. I guess that would be February 5th. So that is going to be the game plan right now. But yeah, so we're going to do our picks later on today, Jay. So you make sure you'll have to be listening so you can give us our pick. Only 2 NFL games to pick, and then we're going to pick NBA, NHL, and college basketball. Probably some games from tonight as well coming up, as again we will have a national show during our time the next 2 days, and then all of next week as well. But you still got the Coach James Hale show at 7 every morning, Monday through Friday, and then David Hayes in the afternoon Underdogs every 4 p.m. Monday through Friday as well. But I'm going to jump into some middle school sport action here right off the get-go, as the season's now going on for middle school sports. Why am I talking about middle school sports? I have middle schoolers, and also, we promote the future of our high school sports a good bit here on the Inside Drive, talking about the youngsters. So luckily, Chris Fall and a lot of the other middle school basketball coaches are giving me some information, and that's one thing too. If you ever want your stuff to be talked about, just get it to us. It's as easy as that. Obviously for varsity stuff, we can go on Max Preps and all that stuff, but we'll talk about any youth sports, middle school, recreation, travel ball, whatever it may be. Our job is to help make sure that youth sports are being promoted here in Bay County and beyond, because that is the future athletes that will be on those varsity fields, courts, whatever it may be. I was going to say rinks, but there's no rinks around here when it comes to varsity sports. But yeah, just let us know. So we'll jump into a little bit of that. I will start first with some soccer action, as the middle school sports season is boys basketball and girls soccer. It is wild down here that both, on the varsity, JV, as well as the middle school levels, your soccer is played in the wintertime, arguably the coldest time of the year for us. But I guess that makes sense. You're running around. I don't know when else you'd do it.
The uniforms don't make sense, like as far as for that weather.
Yeah, shorts and short sleeve shirts. But it was
and the shortest of all shorts, basically. I don't know if basketball's rivaling with them these days or not, but
yeah, it seems like basketball's going back up a little bit, which is nice. Getting back to the original, the OG. It got real long there for a little while.
Yeah, it did.
I just feel like if I was playing basketball, I would want the least amount of fabric in my way when it comes to dribbling, especially crossing over and that kind of stuff.
Oh no, man, those and one mixtapes seem different.
That's true. The professor.
The baggier, the better.
Yeah, the baggier, the better indeed. But yes, on the boys basketball side of things, you had Bay Haven take down Mowat in a double overtime thriller. These are all the games from yesterday. Rutherford took down Surfside in a close 7-point win. The defending champs Jinx took down University Academy boys very comfortably that home match there, and Breakfast Point also had a comfortable win over Bozeman in that week 1 matchup as well. Merritt Brown had a bye yesterday. We got some more games coming up on Thursday, but standings based on point differential right now, you've got Jinx, Breakfast Point Academy, Rutherford, Bay Haven, Merritt Brown, Mowat, Surfside, Bozeman, and then University Academy. We have an odd number of middle schools here in Bay County, so we do get a little bit, there's some byes every once in a while. Some more games coming up tomorrow night. You got Breakfast Point at Bay Haven. Rutherford's going to be traveling over to Mowat. Jinx at Bozeman, Merritt Brown at Surfside, and then University Academy is on a bye tomorrow. All those games are at 4 p.m. Come out and support those middle school sports. As Chris Fall says it perfectly, it's the next generation of Bay County ballers getting ready to come up through those middle school levels. And I'm anxious too for University Academy eventually. They're under construction for a gym, which is much needed out there, as they volleyball, girls basketball, boys basketball. No home games for UA. They're all on the road, as we don't have a gym. Question from one of our listeners, Jay Henley: what do you think the most important what do you think the most important fundamentals are in basketball for younger kids? That's a good question, Jay. I wonder what you think about that one. I would just say, I'm not a big basketball guy. I do know a little bit of the ins and outs, but not as much as I do other sports. But I would just say the ability to dribble and go both ways when you're dribbling the ball and being being able to, look up and all that stuff. And that's such a basic fundamental. But basketball is one of those sports where you can practice that on your own. You don't have to have a gym. You don't have to have anything else. Rebounding is also a good one too there, Jay. But if you don't dribble, you're not going to get a shot. You're not going to get a rebound. So I would say that dribbling is maybe that first one. Great questions.
And the hardest, because what are two of the most non-called in the NBA, but called in youth basketball, right? Travel and double dribble. And it's one of those things that until, it clicks in your brain, it's really hard to understand that. Especially it's like, all right, when you're first taught double dribble, it's you pick it up with two hands, but then they start pinning the ball up against their body, and it's like, that's the same concept. And then trying to get them, I mean, if they watch the NBA and watch guys take off from half court and holding the ball like they're playing football.
Taking 5 steps and going up. Absolutely.
It's tough, man.
Absolutely. But no, it's definitely interesting. But and some of the really young youth leagues too, and I get it because the skill levels aren't as hard, is they don't call double dribble and that kind of stuff. And I've seen some of the leagues in the past with the kindergartners in first grade to let them get away with that, but I think they've since changed and they're starting to calling it more. And the only reason I think that's bad is because that's encouraging you to play the game like that. So when then you do have to play that way, it's you're used to it and you're comfortable. But
it is tough because you teach, if you let them get away with that, then as they grow older it'll become kind of common. But at the same time, there's the issue if you're playing a game and the game cannot even continue because every kid is double dribbling, do you just cancel the games? And I mean, is that
that's
something?
A tough one,
Well, but here's my thing on that. I kind of wonder if youth basketball, once you get to a certain level, you can play games. But if you're not playing, if the game is not being played correctly, what's the point in playing a game? Maybe just have a full season of practice.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, because that is a good point. If you're, is flag football? Well, there are certain rules that are changed in flag football from age to age. So there is that. But I mean, this is a fundamental principle in double dribble, whereas most of all fundamental rules in football are followed in flag football. So that's interesting if your league does decide to do that. But I think there's other rules in place that the whole point is kind of building confidence for these youngins when you're playing youth sports, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. Just trying to get them involved and keep them stay with it and instill confidence. But you can't just pick up the ball and run down the court. That's certainly one. And Timothy Vermette commented the flu in parentheses and then used some emojis there and then said birdies and beer, baby. Birdies and beer.
Jay missed out for an opportunity for a flu show.
Yeah. You could have brought the heat. You could have been the Michael Jordan flu show. Bogeys and whiskey. Yeah, there you go.
Shout out Boston Tim.
That's more like it. Bogeys and whiskey. They go hand in hand. Although I don't know. Maybe the more whiskey you have, you don't see a lot of people drinking whiskey out on the golf course. But I mean, Fireball, I guess, is considered a type of whiskey, a cinnamon whiskey.
Yeah,
and that's definitely consumed out there on the reg for sure. But hey, Boston, there you go. It's fun. I don't know why I've been missing out on this little section where I can just watch the comments coming through on the Meta Business Suite. Why have I not been doing this? I don't know.
And the more that you read off the comments, the more that they tend to comment, and then that just gives you your free content right there.
There you go. There you go. Absolutely. Yeah, I was today years old when that went down. But yes, middle school soccer. I can only really report on one game because, again, like I said, if you are someone who can send in content or let us know what happened in games, we'd be glad to talk about them. But yes, University Academy played Jinx Middle School yesterday at Jinx Middle School. Again, University Academy does not have a home field, but they do play at Public Sports Park. So excited to have some home matches, as this is our third season following middle school sports now that Ryan has made the middle school soccer team as well. But solid performance by UA. They've got a really good group of young ladies that solid soccer, like really played the game of soccer the way it's meant to be played, watching, possession and ball being passed around and playing it the way. And excited that Ryan was able to get out there for a good bit. She played almost half the full time out there and had a little assist as she got to play forward and play up top. And Natalie Tannehill scored a bunch of goals. Cheney
Any relation to Ryan?
No, but it's funny you say that because Joe, Natalie's dad, and then Joey, who's played on one of our flag football teams before, they're big Tennessee Titans fans.
Really?
And they have been trying to get an autograph from Ryan Tannehill before. And I think he said he might have gotten one. I might be mixing up the stories, but they went to the Titans-Jags game this past season.
Yeah.
And Tannehill obviously wasn't playing, but I think he said they might have got to talk to him or something like that, and they were trying to find a Ryan Tannehill card to take and get signed. But two good athletes in that family, that's for sure.
Ryan Tannehill seems like the type of guy, which I don't think he'll be a Tennessee Titan next year, but if you were to send send a card or something that you wanted signed to the Tennessee Titans, he just seems like the type of guy that would get that back to you.
Yeah, and I think they may have sent something in before, and I'd have to follow up on that one for sure. Fight Night's February 3rd at Edgewater. Y'all come out. We'll get you something for the flu Sunday morning. There you go, Jay.
And if you haven't been to those beatdown at the beaches, you're really missing out. That's going to be a great event. They do a great job over there at Edgewater. Impact Promotions does. So yeah, if February 3rd, definitely be there. More than likely, unless something comes up, I'll be there. But also that date is significant, Ryan, because I don't know how many tickets we have, but we do have tickets to the Senior Bowl, and we're going to be giving those away. So for our listeners, I know that this is last second, but if you'd like to head to the Super Bowl, whoa, Senior
we get some
Bowl.
Engagement if we're giving away Super Bowl tickets, that's for sure.
The Senior Bowl, then y'all be ready for that, because we're going to be talking with Bone Crusher Randy and figuring out how, and we need to give away some tickets today, since this is going to be our last show, more than likely, before the Senior Bowl.
Bowl. Yeah, absolutely.
In this break, I'll get some info.
And this Senior Bowl as well, you've got some big name players coming to it this year. I know Bo Nix is playing in this one, and this is the first one too. I think it's not just seniors. I think it's all upperclassmen or draft eligible players. So I'll do some research here in the break and see some of the big time names that'll be playing in that. I know our good friend Alan and Keith went to that last year, and I know Alan's planning on going, and I think Keith's planning on going to it again this year.
Alan's going, I believe, isn't he?
Yeah. He's going down to check it out. He's excited, and he was talking about Bo Nix being there. Obviously, Bo Nix, a potential top 20 draft pick there, is a solid quarterback coming out of this year's draft class, which has a ton of quarterbacks in it.
I don't know what 2024 holds. 2024, but this would leak into 2025. But maybe we could do some crowdfunding, and me and you and Jay and maybe a couple of others head up to Mobile for the entire week.
Ooh.
And do Senior Bowl week next year. Because I went to the game last year, and they had a little issue with the ticket. So we actually didn't even get into the gate, and we were there well early, but we didn't end up getting into the gate until like midway through the first quarter. And so that kind of took away from some of the things that we wanted to do, which is okay. We still enjoyed the game. I was standing from me to you to Charles Davis, which he calls a lot of Titans game. He's the second voice of Madden, the color commentary on Madden, and that was really cool. The people that you can meet and everything, but to be able to spend a week there and do our shows from there, I think that would be really fun and a lot of fun for our listeners as well.
Yeah, definitely, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on that week leading up, a lot of opportunities to interview and find out what's going on, and that would be Jay Henley. Yes, that the kid definitely brought the heat with that hoodie. That is for sure, and I probably should have kept my mouth shut a little more during that game than I did, but it was just, the whole situation was a weird game, but came out on top with the victory and was fun. We got another one tomorrow night, last regular season game of the 4th-5th grade division flag football, and I was going to talk about this one yesterday, David, but I forgot to and did get a chance to. Want to get your thoughts, and I know Jay and I know Keith are also big wrestling fans, but big news that came out a few days days ago. WWE Raw is moving to Netflix starting in 2025. That's leaving linear TV, meaning a non-streaming service, for the first time ever since its debut in 1993. They're going to be paying $5 billion to be able to stream all of those matches exclusively on Netflix. It's a 10-year deal. Again, it's valued at more than $5 billion. WWE bills Raw the longest running weekly episodic, if that's the
episodic.
It's a weird word. Episodic television show of all time. But by the virtue of the new deal with Netflix, Raw is moving from linear TV to streaming for the first time in its 31-year history. Just want to get your thoughts on this whole situation. Obviously, WWE is massive. It's always been massive, and it's arguably, some could say, it's as big as now as it's ever been. Interesting to see Netflix, you're seeing some more of these streaming services diving into these live sports and entertainment stuff, and a trend probably that will continue. But what do you think about this whole going down?
I think it's a great move for all of the reasons that you mentioned there for what the WWE is here. A lot of people are moving off of cable, and they already have Netflix and all of that stuff. So as a WWE fan, not only do you have the WWE network and app and all of that good stuff, and I think that they've made it, or do they do that on Peacock now? I'm not necessarily sure, but it's made it more accessible for all the fans, and it's a beautiful thing because it's all in kind of one area, right? And so now you've got Netflix coming into the equation, which is going to be that streaming service. If that is successful, all right, we're already seeing, that's going to possibly affect the UFC in some way, right? Because they're under the same
under the same umbrella, TKO,
Endeavor there. So I worry about what we already saw with the playoffs. I really do worry that we're heading into a space where instead of paying for channels and apps and stuff, we're going to be paying for single items.
Yeah.
And so it'll be like
an a la carte kind of thing.
Instead of going to, you got to pay for your ticket to go to the game, but instead of just being able to sit there and watch football on certain channels, you have to pick the games that you want and pay $5. And by the time Saturday's over, you've paid $100. You know what I'm saying? I'm worried that we're headed in that direction. But we'll see how this plays out, man. We'll see how this plays out. I think that doesn't this seem like something though that, all right, if Netflix can use this to raise the prices?
Oh yeah, and they're spending $10 billion to put it on their network. Yeah. They're gonna make money on this. There's no doubt. But yeah, I don't even know what Netflix is. It's $11.99, whatever it may be. But yeah, I mean, even if they just bump it up a couple bucks a month, times however many subscribers they have, it's definitely a good move for them. But it's gonna offer a United States, Canada, the UK, and Latin America. It'll be streaming in all of those areas every single week, all year long. And if you're already a Netflix subscriber, obviously if you're a WWE fan, that's will be good for you. And if you're not, you subscribe to it and kind of go from there. But it seems like the world of stuff getting blacked out because it's on cable and stuff like that is getting closer and closer to kind of being behind us. Obviously, NFL Sunday Ticket made the move this past year to go on to YouTube TV, and there's some other things. I found out there's some kind of lawsuit going on, some $6 billion lawsuit going on as well with some stuff going on with Sunday Ticket and some different things. I'll dive into that at some point. I haven't really studied it too much, but it just, the streaming service seems to be, the NFL dabbled with it in the playoff game, exclusively being streamed on the Peacock network there, and it didn't really seem to, it didn't really seem to hurt anything. Obviously, they got more subscribers in that single period of time because, as we talked about, the NFL certainly moves the needle. And moving the needle, I know we got to take a break here, but we talked about the streaming of the Niners-Packers game, but that Chiefs-Buffalo game was the highest ever viewed I think, divisional playoff game in the history of the NFL. They had a record 50 million plus viewers for a divisional game. That's getting up there.
Real quick before we go to break, and almost expected, right? With the two previous playoff games that the Chiefs and the Bills have
definitely
had, it being the final game of the divisional round there, those numbers definitely make sense. One of the things that, all right, so NBC with Peacock, right, and it kind of forced that upon us to some extent. CBS, like when they're advertising, you've got the game on CBS, but also they try to push you to Paramount Plus. Well, Fox doesn't, right? And Fox has their own app or whatever. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Fox, where you can stream it, but they don't sit there and say to go stream it. All of that good stuff, and we can still watch the games on our antenna TVs and all that good stuff.
Yep. The original there, the OG, the over the airways, just like
the best way to watch it too, because your notifications will not beat the antenna.
Yes, no, the antenna is certainly the quickest signal. And that's another thing. Like if you've got your phone set up where you're tuned in to get notifications anytime something happens for your favorite teams or whatever it may be, a lot of times you'll find out before you see it with your own eyes. But with that being said, we'll go ahead and take our first break. Again, Keith Fleming coming up at the top of the hour. Make sure you tune into that. We may dive into some of these picks in the Farmers Insurance Open, which actually gets started today as well, because the golf does not want to compete with Championship Sunday in the NFL, knowing that nobody would watch the golf. You're listening to The Inside Drive. We'll be right back.
Set your alarm clock to wake up with the Coach Hales Show on ESPN Northwest Florida. In-depth local and college sports from expert insiders and a dash of controversy.
Can be deadly.
Weekday mornings 7 to 9.
Nothing says good morning like a drunken human alarm clock.
You're live from the J. Michaels studio.
We all know he loves the Florida Gators, but that's okay.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
I can control the world.
Good morning. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your forecast on this Wednesday. Light sprinkles and slight fog this afternoon and evening with a moderate breeze at 14 miles per hour coming out of the southeast, and look for the high to be 68. Tonight, there will be a variety of sprinkles and slight fog with the temperature reaching 63. A variety of heavy rain and slight fog tomorrow with a high of 68. This weather is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Come on down and get in on all the Senior Bowl excitement Saturday, February 3rd. From tailgating to game day and epic Mardi Gras parades. Enjoy an action-packed Saturday leading up to a free live concert by Counting Crows at Mardi Gras Park, downtown Mobile at 8 p.m. Get your tickets for the 75th Senior Bowl today at seniorbowl.com. The draft starts in Mobile.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
And now the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey.
We're going to have a talk.
Tell me what you know. Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios.
It's a frantic noise.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back. You're listening to The Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. A lot of different stuff going on in the sports world right now, and we'll kind of bounce around a little bit here in this next segment. Talk a little bit about some golf stuff as well. But out of the Alabama camp, with I know some people that are connected to that program, and it does in fact look like that Nick Dunlap is going to be in fact turning pro and leaving the Alabama men's golf team, and he met with the team yesterday, and again, this is not confirmed. This is just through some people close to the Alabama golf program that we know, but had a meeting with and obviously he was sad. You hate to leave your team and all that stuff, but like we talked about yesterday, this could be the only opportunity he has to earn PGA Tour membership or Live Tour membership or whatever he decides to do on the professional side of golf things. And if you don't do it, that may not be there again to potentially down the road to be able to get onto the tour, especially with all the uncertainty of what's going on right now. What is professional golf going to look like as we get further along down the year? I mean, the PGA Tour and the Live Tour still in deep conversations, and there's also a lot of rumors of a lot more golfers on the PGA Tour right now potentially looking at leaving and heading and going over there to the Live Tour before their season gets kicked off, I believe, on February 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, as it is just a 54-hole event. So interesting to see how that'll all shake out, but kind of the consensus there is, you're seeing with Jon Rahm making that move, you're starting to see some other guys, Tommy Fleetwood, Xander Schauffele even had kind of came out and said, you're starting to hear guys say that they're not, quote unquote, they're on the PGA Tour right now, but they're not committed to the PGA Tour. And, Xander Schauffele is one of those particular fellas that's in that conversation. But, yeah, Tommy Fleetwood, Tyrell Hatton, a lot of these guys potentially looking at making the move over there to the Live Tour. But we'll see how it all goes. But, again, pretty awesome to see what Nick Dunlap did this past weekend.
Do you think there's any chance that he skips out on getting his PGA Tour card and maybe head straight to the Live Tour?
I mean, I think there's a chance for sure. I mean, it just, I guess, depends on what the offer on the table is for him. And that's the difference. That's the leverage that the Live Tour certainly has right now, is they can, give you a guaranteed chunk of money just to join the tour before you even earn anything. But he's also already got exemptions. He won the U.S. Amateur, so he's got an exemption into the Masters. He's got an exemption into the U.S. Open right now. If he does turn pro, he would lose that exemption, but he'd then have an exemption into the PGA Championship for being this season's PGA Tour winner. So there's just so much uncertainty in the golf world right now. It's pretty wild to think about.
Because if he were to make that move, that would remind me of the USFL back in the day when they're getting players like Reggie White and Steve Young and obviously Nick Dunlap's name. Did you? I know that you follow golf very closely, but did you know his name going into this weekend?
Yes, because he won the U.S. Amateur.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And that's basically the biggest tournament in amateur golf that you can win.
Right.
And he won that one last. I think I once played in August, if I'm not mistaken. But so they have confirmed 2 new signings ahead of that campaign. But as I mentioned, Tommy Fleetwood, Tyrell Hatton, both targets for the Live Golf Tour. Reigning U.S. Open champ Wyndham Clark reportedly in discussions with the Live Tour. Poland's Adrian Maronik. Everybody knows Adrian. He loves those potatoes, but he sparked rumors that he withdrew from the Farmers Insurance Open, so that he may be heading over there to the Live Tour as well. But that's one of those things, you've got these Nick Dunlap, for example, like you asked that question about, would he potentially forego the PGA Tour and make a move to the Live Tour? I don't know. And especially, if we're on the cusp of another potential tour that has all the best golfers and all that stuff in there, where this whole, if you're on the Live Tour, you can't compete in PGA Tour events. If that stuff gets sorted out, I mean, why would you not, go get a decent paycheck and then still have an opportunity to play in, major championships and all that stuff.
And get paid every time.
And get paid every time you do it and only have to play 54 holes and have a team event. But,
because you are taking, right, when you're going to the PGA Tour, you're taking a chance.
Oh, 100%.
And it's a big chance, right? Because this ain't the NFL where you're going and you're collecting a paycheck automatically. No, you're fighting for your right to earn a paycheck, and you got to make the cut. And then,
Nothing's given, yeah.
Yeah, so, but if you go to the Live Tour, there ain't no cuts.
Yep.
The only thing getting cut is a paycheck to you.
That's it. You're getting a little bit of money regardless of, and it's not all on you either.
Yeah,
you can still win the team that week, and you could do terrible and win a couple $1 million.
Lil Koepka.
Yeah,
whatever
exactly.
his name is.
Yeah, Chase Koepka, Brooks' brother, made a bunch of money and didn't even play good golf. So
isn't that like a shopping store like for suits and stuff, Brooks Brothers or something like that?
Yes, yeah,
Brooks brother.
Yeah.
Getting a suit and you really ain't got to be that good. And I'm throwing shade. And
I mean, obviously they're very good, but it's interesting to see how these teams are all shaken out and all that stuff. But it brings me to another interesting golf article thing. Three of the highest paid athletes of all time in the top 5 are in fact golfers, which is pretty cool. And Tiger Woods has been in the news a lot lately. Obviously, he's committed to quote unquote playing one tour event a month. Don't know when the next one coming up is.
Was there one in January?
He played in that. Which one did he?
Not the PNC because that's December, right?
He played the his tournament, the Target Hero World Challenge. If it's still Target, I don't know. It's the Hero World Challenge. That was his event, and he did play in that one. No cut or anything in that one. So Tiger Woods is in the top 5 highest paid athletes of all time. NBA legend Michael Jordan is the runaway winner all time with $3.3 billion, and the 15-time major champion Tiger Woods is right there behind him at $2.5 billion all time there. After retiring from basketball in 2003 at age 40, Jordan went on to make huge money as an entrepreneur, which you've seen a lot of these big time athletes do as well. His Air Jordan brand in collaboration with Nike brings in about $1 billion a year in sales. Those $1 billion a year. Jordan shoes are widely available in a different range of sports, including golf now. The latest shoe that Jordan caught range after the attention this week was the Jordan 1 Golf Mule, which some golf fans have commented looks like slippers. Woods confirmed, do you remember, back on January 8th that he was leaving Nike after 27 years of partnership together, which obviously Tiger really helped bring Nike to that next level after Jordan brought it up. It's funny how both the top 2 highest paid athletes of all time are both connected with Phil Knight's brand with the swoosh, but rumors of the new apparel brand that Tiger Woods will be involved in. Again, this is not confirmed, but some stuff has been leaked with a video. Richard Bland, he's a live golf player. He posted a video of Tiger Woods that would appear to all but confirmed that Tiger Woods will be collaborating with new apparel partner TaylorMade, which he noticeably went when Nike stopped doing hard goods and all that stuff. He made the switch from Nike to TaylorMade. He obviously plays the Bridgestone ball. I think he may be playing the TaylorMade ball. No, I think he's still playing the Bridgestone ball. But anyway, he left Nike after 27 years. And again, this is not confirmed, but rumors, it looks like he's been seen wearing TaylorMade apparel. And that would be kind of a new move for TaylorMade to kind of jump into that apparel side of things.
Yeah, it would be. But I think Tiger Woods is missing out on an opportunity that he could make a brand that is bigger than TaylorMade.
Yeah.
TigerMade.
Yeah, TigerMade. There you go. There it is right there. That's easy. And it's the TM. It's the same.
There you go.
Same initials.
Yeah, TM.
TM with the TM in the circle.
There you go.
Just coming full circle there. But yeah, that'd be it's obviously it's going to be really weird to see Tiger Woods not wearing Nike clothes anymore. Really weird seeing Nick Saban not coaching on the sidelines anymore. Not seeing Bill Belichick coaching on the Patriots sidelines anymore. But
Harbaugh possibly going to be in the NFL.
Yeah, possibly going to the Chargers there.
Tom Brady going to be in the booth.
We are at a precipice of massive change across the sports world, that's for sure.
Could you ever see Tiger being a commentator?
No, I just don't think he would want to.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem like it's his. He just talks too much trash.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So he'd have to really dial it back, yeah.
That was a terrible swing right there, and he's not going to be able to fix that for the next 72 holes or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. I could see him doing it, but it would be certainly an interesting perspective. perspective on how things go there. Yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, Tiger and Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer are the other two names on that list that round out the three golfers in the top 5 of most highest paid athletes of all time. So,
of all time, Jack Nicklaus and Arnold are still there?
Well, adjusted for inflation.
All right.
So Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus follow Woods in the 3rd and 4th spots with $1.7 billion and $1.63 billion respectively. Those numbers, as we say, are inflated adjusted earnings. The late great Palmer, who won 7 major titles from 58 to 64, was seen as golf's trailblazer as he became the first superstar of the sports television age in the late 50s, while Jack Nicklaus was more the golfer winning everything, his 18 majors, with his last one coming up there at Augusta in 1986.
So Arnold Palmer was LeBron James and Jack Nicklaus was Mike.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And a lot of people, too, can say Arnold was like Phil, and then Jack was like Tiger, or vice versa.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because, I mean, Phil, obviously, love him or hate him, a lot of people do not like Phil, especially a lot of guys that were on tour just because of how he was. But, he could kind of say he transcended the game, too, as well from a fan base thing. And Tiger, obviously, was so dominant. Phil was kind of, everybody loved Phil. Everybody loved Tiger, too, but Phil kind of had the same thing as Arnie's Army kind of thing, right? Had the big fan base behind him, where Jack was known to be, a little more standoffish and, not as nice, so to speak. But it's kind of similar to Tiger. Tiger in his heyday, he didn't get a lot from Tiger. He was Tiger Vision. He was in his
Tiger Vision. Yes, dude, that made the game so much easier.
Yeah. Every time you got that, you knew that putt was going in.
That's what's wrong with the golf games today. Is like, and I don't know if they have that or not, but like, why can't? Yeah, too realistic. Like, I want to be able to backspin that thing right next to the hole, man.
Absolutely.
Come on.
And get that forward spin, which isn't a real thing. You never will hit a golf ball with top spin ever. And a lot of people say, oh yeah, I hit a lot of top spin on that shot. No, the golf ball was always rotating backwards. It's impossible for the ball to rotate forward. Obviously, when it hits the ground, it starts rotating forward, but it's just less backspin on it versus more, or less RPMs. It's a common thing, though. People think, I hit that one with top spin.
Do you think there's anyone out there who's got a golf ball created that when you hit it, they've got like a little remote control in their hand and it doesn't control the ball? Yeah, but just the spin on the ball.
Yeah, I'm sure it's been tried to be created.
Yeah.
The problem is if you lose it, depending on how much it was, that's what people talked about, back in the day. I remember when I was coming up playing high school golf and all that, there was some talks about like putting GPS in golf balls so you could find your golf ball. But the problem is the technology and the expense to put that in the golf ball made the golf ball a lot more expensive.
Right.
So then if you did in fact lose it somewhere where you may have known where it was, but you can't get it, it just
defeats the purpose. And then if you hit it in the water.
Yeah, exactly. You know where it is, but you lost the ball. And then does it work? I don't know. So technology in golf is certainly an interesting thing.
I think I'm gonna start bringing a snorkel and a wetsuit and a big old net whenever I go to golf course and just hop in the pond. Here we go, boys. 25 cents a lick here.
There's that whole pond diver industry is a decently lucrative industry.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get in with a lot of golf courses and you're willing to do that work.
Yeah.
Especially in Florida where you have the most golf rounds played anywhere in the country. You also have the most water, and you also have the most snakes and the most alligators and all those things in that water that when you're searching around for golf balls and you can't see anything, you could end up getting bit. But we have divers that come out.
I was about to say, do y'all pay them or do they just like get the golf balls?
They come out and they give us 10 cents a ball for every ball.
Oh, they give y'all 10 cents a ball. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about getting, trying to figure it out, and our ponds get cleaned out, and also, they make, because what they do is they take all the balls, they refurbish them, and then they sell them.
Yeah.
I think we're getting a call, but we got a break coming up as well. But it's every time I watch somebody hit a ball in the water, I'm like, 10 cents for the club, 10 cents for the club, because it is 10 cents, and those companies do a good job, but there's also a whole black market for that as well, where people will sneak into golf courses at night and try to get golf balls out of ponds and illegally. I think there was an ESPN 30 for 30 or something like that on there. But it's 11:40. We'll go ahead and take a quick break. I know David is on the phone with who we got on the line. We'll figure out who that is when we get back. And you're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Again, don't forget Keith Fleming coming up at the top of the hour. We'll be right back.
Take ESPN Northwest Florida with you everywhere you go.
Anytime, any place, anywhere.
The sports talk and live play-by-play doesn't have to end when you get out of the car. The ESPN Northwest Florida app streams your favorite sports talk hosts and the biggest games in ultra-high fidelity.
This is of utmost importance in travel.
Take the sports talk monster with you anywhere you go. Available for Android and iPhone.
Use it anywhere or any place.
The Senior Bowl. For 75 years, it's been the proving ground of football's greatest legends. The tradition continues Saturday, February 3rd, as the legends return to Mobile. Join us at a Hancock Whitney Stadium, where the first 5,000 entrants will receive limited edition bobbleheads of the 75th team legends. Dan Marino, DeMarcus Ware, Aaron Donald, Sean Alexander, and Cornelius Bennett. Get your tickets for the 75th Senior Bowl at seniorbowl.com. The draft starts in Mobile.
Kitchen Designs in Panama City Beach and Santa Rosa Beach want to help you make your dream kitchen a reality in 2024. Family owned and operated for over 20 years, they offer cabinets, countertops, flooring, and tile. Their cash and carry program offers Shaker White cabinets available the very next day. Call Kitchen Designs to make your dream come true. 850-775-4150.
Hey, I'll take some.
Great. And some Frank's Red Hot.
Oh, nah, I'm good.
Oh, you're just going to eat these dry, plain, boring nachos with no Franks. Seriously? Frank it up. Frank it up. Come on, lady. Frank it up. Frank it up. Frank it up. Yeah! Yeah, this guy finally gets it. Hey, look, we're on the Jumbotron.
It's the perfect blend of flavor and heat. Frank's Red Hot. I put that on everything.
The only place to get sports betting coverage on the radio. Is this legal? Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios. It's the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. We got a caller on the line with a golf story, and that is Glenn. Glenn, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
We're doing fantastic. I'm excited to have a golf story on the show today, so I appreciate you calling in and excited to hear what you have to share.
Okay, well, I've lived in Central Florida, in the early 90s, and but they put a golf course anywhere down there. In subdivision. I know you know. But when we're playing golf and we come up on a tee and there's a pond maybe halfway down the fairway, and there's this kid sitting there. He's got snorkeling goggles, and he got about 50 golf balls laying on the ground. And so we pull up, and we start picking out golf balls, 50 cents a piece. It was perfect.
There you go.
So, that happened all over the place down there.
And it happens at Bay Point often as well. We'll get some kids that'll be, busy summer days. They'll set up on a par 3 tee or something like that, and they'll, have the egg crates of some kids. Some people will even go enough to separate it out by type of golf ball in the egg crates and be selling them. But yeah, there's entrepreneurial spirit there, that's for sure. But golf balls are so expensive that if you can get a used decent golf ball for 50 cents, that makes it.
That's the deal.
That's a heck of a deal, and it makes it not so bad if you hit that thing in the pond or out of bounds and can't find it. But
and I tend to do that quite often.
As does most of the golfing population, that is for sure, because it is not easy by any means. Glenn, are you from around here, or were you down in Central Florida for a while?
Well, my dad retired Air Force in Louisiana, and we moved here after we got married.
Awesome.
And I've known David since he was in elementary school, probably that long.
He, Coach Glenn, Coach Gibson, coached us in flag football. We were the Seahawks back in the day.
Oh, nice. Full circle. Now David's out there coaching flag football as well. So
there you go. I coached the team with my grandson last summer at what is it? Southern Elite.
Yeah.
It's the league we played with, and we came in second place, missed the extra point in overtime to lose the championship game. But we had fun. I didn't really, I kind of was reluctant to coach my grandsons. I don't know. And then I did it, and I loved it. It was great.
Absolutely.
Get out there and do it with your children and your grandchildren, guys.
100%. Yeah, you can't not do it. It's certainly it's so rewarding and just so much fun. And it's especially fun when, there's a kid that's just given his all, and then when they succeed, there's no better feeling than that. That's for sure.
No, absolutely. Some of them aren't as talented as others, but man, they're out there giving everything they got, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we got you on the line real quick. Who's winning the two championship games this weekend?
I see San Francisco and Baltimore is what I'm thinking, but I don't. They seem to be the two best teams. I mean, you can't rule out either one of the other. Detroit,
no, of course not.
Kansas City, because that Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, he's
amazing.
He just doesn't lose.
No, he very rarely, but I'm excited to watch the games,
Yeah.
So that's going to be great.
It's going to be two great championship games, that's for sure. Well, Coach Glenn, we appreciate the call very much, and always appreciate a golf story as well, because, it's cool to see kids out there being entrepreneurs trying to make a couple bucks, because getting in a golf pond anywhere in Florida is definitely a little dicey with snakes and gators and snapping turtles and all that stuff, so kudos to them. And the chemicals. All the runoff chemicals that end up in those ponds as well.
I didn't even think about that part of it. Yeah,
that's one thing we try to remind kids out there at Bay Point. Hey, if you're swimming in these ponds, there's runoff of some things that could potentially make you glow. It's all stuff that's approved to use, but don't swim in golf course ponds. And go find we got a beach, we got bays, we got all that stuff.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for taking my call, guys.
No, absolutely. Thanks for giving us a call, and we appreciate you listening. That is for sure. All right, David, some basketball news. I was going to get to it earlier, but as of yesterday, the Bucks had fired Adrian Griffin after 4 months and a 30-13 start. And it looks like they caught some film of Giannis drawing up plays Monday night, and that was one of many bad omens. Kind of some details from the breakup. There was an increased front office presence at practice over the last few weeks. According to Bleacher Report's Chris Haynes, Buck players privately complained and constantly questioned the schemes on both sides of the ball, also according to Chris Haynes. And Doc Rivers began serving as the informal consultant to Griffin a month ago, according to The Athletic. And then as of this morning, the news was announced that Doc Rivers has been named the new head coach for the Milwaukee Bucks there. And just kind of crazy how it all came to fruition so quickly. And it's kind of crazy, a team that's doing so well, 30-13, and they get rid of their coach. But it also looks like, too, based on some of those reports and some of those underlying themes, that it might have been, not necessarily a performance on the court thing, but maybe a culture thing with former head coach Adrian Griffin on the Bucks there. So we'll see what Doc Rivers does. But as we were talking about before the show, Doc Rivers has obviously been with some really talented teams as of late, with some of the best players in the NBA. But then when it comes to winning the championship and progressing through the playoffs, just haven't been able to do that. But we'll see what he can do there for the Milwaukee Bucks. But
did get the title with Boston in 2008.
Yes. Yeah.
So there is that. But yeah, he's had very talented rosters and just not able to get the job done. What I was hearing was the lack of defense, and what you're saying from Chris Haynes there is both sides of the ball, which is even more of an issue, especially if the players are scratching their heads like, we are a championship caliber team, and it wasn't but 2 years ago that we hoisted the Larry O'Brien Trophy, or whatever it is that they're calling it these days. I know that they've changed up some of the names for some of the trophies and made some additions there as well. But yeah, it's going to be interesting here. This is going to be another very talented squad here for Doc Rivers. He's been involved now with the Bucks for going on a month and a half. Not only that, but then as a player and then playing over there in Marquette as well. So some sort of a homecoming here for Doc Rivers. Second in the East, the Celtics look to be the team to beat in the East right now. It's going to be interesting here, but I hate this to an extent for Adrian Griffin, just because it's here you are at 30-13, 34-13, something to that effect. You're in your first year and you don't even get to prove if your schemes are going to work throughout the duration of the season. Hate that for you, but let's see what Doc Rivers can do. It's going to be a shame if you get to the conference championship game, or if you get to the round before the conference championship game and you fall into a game 7 and you can't get it done. That's going to be huge, especially with one of, if not the best player in the game right now, as far as just the capability to do everything in Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, it seems like, too, the NBA, out of all the major professional sports, obviously a lot smaller rosters than most, is where you hear a little bit more when the players seem to start getting, coming together and having a movement towards a coach or a GM or whatever it may be. More often than not, the players seem to have some power when it comes to making some changes and that kind of stuff. And you don't see that as much in the other professional sports. Again, I think just because the rosters are so small when it comes to that kind of stuff. But yeah, good luck to Doc Rivers, and we'll see what happens there, and we'll probably talk about it in a couple weeks with our good friend Doc A, who we talked to yesterday. I wonder if I was going to get Jay Henley's tip of the week this week as well. Jay, if you're still listening, put one in the comments.
Yeah, there we go.
And I know you posted 4 minutes ago about Chubbs Peterson. He beat out Ben Carr, I believe, from Georgia Southern. I don't know what we're talking about there, but yeah, Chubbs Peterson. Jay, give us a tip of the week real quick if you're listening, and I'll read it off the air there. That's for sure. But some other news. We're kind of bouncing around all sports today. The Edmonton Oilers won again.
Where are they at now?
14 straight victories there for the Edmonton Oilers. Just a loaded roster and a really, really good team there, and they're playing some great hockey right now. That is for sure.
Yeah, they're playing some good hockey. The Bolts bouncing back. Yep. They had a big win last night, 5th career hat trick for Nikita Kucherov, who is not really being talked about in the MVP conversation here. And
MVP numbers,
he's leading the league in points. He just doing. It's so impressive, this team, how long this core has been together. They stick together and continue to play really good hockey, and it helps to have a great goaltender like Vasilevsky. But we'll see how this season ends up playing out. They're starting to hit that stride, so we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and the Oilers are definitely looking good. Not leading their division. They're still behind the Vancouver Canucks and the Las Vegas Knights, but holding down that 3rd spot in the Pacific Division of the Western Conference. But they have won 14 straight games in a row, and the next closest winning streak is the Boston Bruins with 5 straight. Not a whole lot of others besides 2. It just shows how it's just like the NBA and in these other sports where you play 80+ games.
Yeah,
anybody can beat anybody any given night. You get a hot goaltender and it makes it tough.
Well, we know about the franchise of both of these franchises with Edmonton and Boston, storied franchises with lots of championships over there. But it's been a long time coming for Edmonton and for Boston. Just last year they had the best overall record and then take that first round exit. So for both of these guys, I don't think that anything that's happening here in the regular season is it's important to them, but there's a bigger goal, right? And you want to see Edmonton make a deep run into the playoffs and possibly make it at least to the Stanley Cup final, because if not, what else can you do? Look great in the regular season, but you got to have dogs when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs, and you got to have even though we don't call them enforcers these days, you got to have your enforcers and you got to have your gnats. Of course, you got to have your star players, but your star players can't do everything, and they can't be as involved in the scrums along the boards. You've got to have guys who can take the pressure off of your star players, and that's one of the things, going back to the Tampa Bay Lightning, go to the Colorado Avalanche, the guys who were on the precipice for a while, and when it started to make that turn is when they went from just being a highly offensive finesse type team to becoming, yes, we'll have the finesse, we will have the skill players, but we will also out physical you, and that's when you start winning championships in hockey.
Guys like Claude Lemieux back in the day, that guy was a baller. Caveman Rick and Chris Steffen commenting about the hockey stuff. 1990 was the last time the Oilers won the Cup, and Gary Bettman's fault. 1990 1993 was the last time a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup. Now, K-Man Rick I know you had just said no Gretzky on that cup. So Gretzky was gone. He was on the Kings at that
probably,
point,
yeah.
right? And then obviously he went to the Rangers shortly.
Great documentary on him too on ESPN Plus. Yeah.
I'm sure I have not seen one. I'm sure that's a good one. That's for sure. But Jay did give us a little. He's sitting there with our good friend Sailor, the dog. Haven't seen her in a while. I'm sure she's getting big. But he said sitting with Sailor reminds me of a dog wagging the tail versus the tail wagging the dog. Getting to that Jay Henley tip of the week. Use your larger muscles in the golf swing more so than those smaller muscles. And that's a great tip because you see so many people, when I used to teach a lot of golf, people would get so caught up in the very specific small muscles and doing little things in the golf swing, which really they had no business worrying about. But it's a great tip. Use your larger muscles, use your legs, use your shoulders, use the big, large muscle groups to have your golf swing go, because it just makes it a lot easier to keep everything where it needs to go. And if you start focusing on your wrist or your forearms or smaller muscles, that's when you start getting out of sequence and that kind of stuff. But yeah, Gretzky's only 14 cups total. Mark Messier 15 in Edmonton was the 6th when he went to the Rangers in '94. Yeah, that's when they beat the Devils in Game 7 when Messier shot it off the top of the right-hand circle. But we got him back the next year.
I think that means Gretzky only won 4 cup totals and Mark Messier won 5. I think that,
yes,
one, not 15.
Yeah, that'd be a lot.
14 cups, baby.
That's some old Canadians hockey guys, Maurice the Rocket Richard and people like that. That's for sure. Yeah, the guarantee. He did give the guarantee. God, I can't stand the Rangers. I'm sure Caveman Rick can't stand the Rangers either, being a Philadelphia Flyers fan that he is. But yeah, he did give the guarantee, and they. Mateau, right? What was Mateau? Yeah, we hate him too. Yes, total for Gretzky 5, Messier in Edmonton 64, like Messier in New York. Yes, Mateau is Stéphane Mateau, I think, scored that goal to knock Brodeur and that was what's crazy is that was Brodeur's first year as the starter for the Devils back there in '94, wow. And then the next year they get to the Cup and take down the Detroit Red Wings in 4 as a huge underdog to kind of launch the franchise into some decent hockey over the next 15 years after that. Still trying to find a way to get back there, but just like that, we're at the top of the hour. When we get back, we'll be joined by Keith Fleming. We'll be talking about DFS, previewing some of these NFL championship games, and maybe talk a little bit about the golf tournament that's starting today as well. You're listening to The Inside Drive. We'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
I went up to the mountains and I tried that out. I lived off the land for about 3 or 4 days in that cold weather, and I decided to come on back down to Panama City Beach and do radio.
Not having done that before, you don't know that you can do that. You hope you can do it. You think you can, but I think the resources are in place. I think the people are in place.
Weekday morning 7 to 9, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good morning. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your forecast on this Wednesday. Light sprinkles and slight fog this afternoon and evening with a moderate breeze at 14 miles per hour coming out of the southeast, and look for the high to be 68. Tonight, there will be a variety of sprinkles and slight fog with the temperature reaching 63. A variety of heavy rain and slight fog tomorrow with a high of 68. This weather is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe, the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Love is in the air at Tracy's Fine Jewelry, and do we have a sweetheart of a deal for you? All diamond heart jewelry is on sale for 25% off. All color gemstone jewelry is 60% off at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. We also have a large selection of gold, silver, and estate jewelry that is sure to melt her heart. Folks have trusted us for 50 years to make their Valentine's sparkle. This year, make it sparkle even more with a sweetheart of a deal from Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
You hear it first. Sports Talk right now. Back to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey.
I know it seems a bit overwhelming at first.
Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios.
Something makes me think you'll get used to it.
On ESPN Northwest Florida.
Sky rockets in flight. Afternoon delight.
And welcome back. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. It's Wednesday, and that only means one thing. The DFS expert himself, that is Keith Fleming, on the line. And Bleacher Report just put out there about 11 minutes ago is Harbaugh is still meeting with the Atlanta Falcons. He's still having his second interview despite all that buzz going on over there with the Chargers. Keith, how are you doing on this Wednesday afternoon?
I'm doing great, but don't worry, Ryan. We're the Falcons. We are going to screw up this coaching hire one way or the other. I can promise you that.
Hopefully not. Hopefully, and we were talking about it yesterday pretty at length, and you know what quarterback would be a great drop-in to really launch the Falcons. Because let's be honest, the division's not great, so the ability to separate yourself in that division is just sitting there. And me and David were discussing yesterday, you guys are one good quarterback away from really, I think, being able to separate yourselves in the division with all the talent you do have on that football team. But the right coach has definitely got to be there first.
Well, and we have cap space, which is also a big deal. So, I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer that if Bill Belichick, who has won all these games, all these titles, has all this experience, like one of the greatest defensive minds in the history of the game, wants to coach our team. And, like, Kirk Cousins has already publicly stated that if Bill Belichick wanted him to be his QB, obviously he would consider it. So that would be an option. I don't understand it. I really don't. I mean, obviously, like, if we could get Harbaugh, I would rather have that just because he's younger. Obviously, he could be with the team longer. But, I mean, outside of that, like, it's so many unknowns with basically any other coach, maybe with the exception of Mike Vrabel. I've just kind of, gotten used to as a Falcons fan that no matter what happens, we'll screw this up. Like, that's just what we do. 28-3, that's kind of what our organization's all about.
Yeah, you're on the cusp of a new trajectory for those Atlanta Falcons there. And
we've been saying that a long time, though, Ryan.
I know.
Wait till next year, but
at least you don't say "we them boys" and then losing the playoffs. So you got that going for you.
Very true. And I mean, one thing I'll give the Falcons fans, and I don't think they get enough credit, is there's a sizable portion of them, especially in like the Atlanta area, and we come back year after year and support this team despite all the heartache. I think sometimes Falcons fans get a bad rap. Like, sometimes people say, well, I mean, like, look at the crowds and stuff. And it's like, yeah, well, if your team stinks, there's a lot of stuff to do in Atlanta. The weather's usually good. Of course people aren't going to want to spend a lot of money to go, watch a team get just pulverized at home, or even worse, not get pulverized, but be leading until, 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter and then losing the most heartbreaking fashion possible.
Yeah. Hey, we went up a couple years ago for that Niners-Falcons game that y'all won. And, the passion for the Falcons fans, regardless of the situation, the team is definitely one of the top in the league. That's for sure.
We'll see. Like I said, for me, if, there's any interest for Harbaugh or Belichick, like, just get it done. And it's sad that what it seems like is the front office is what is at least holding back the Belichick deal. And I'm not a huge fan of Rich McKay in the first place. I think that he has a lot of responsibility to sort of the struggles that we've had, since the mid-2010s on. And obviously these guys are fighting for their jobs, right? So that has a lot to do with why they don't want Belichick being there, is because they know Belichick's going to come in and probably make their role less, and therefore make it easier for the Falcons to move on from them completely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But let's jump into some of the DFS action. Why don't you talk a little bit about how the divisional round weekend went for you?
Man, it was a great week. I love last week. I think I talked about it on the show on Friday that, with there being those 4 games, 8 teams, it was like a perfect slate to where, especially in cash games, which I know I sound like a broken record with this, but that's what people should be playing. That's single entries, 50-50s. You have the best chance of winning money. And it went pretty much exactly like I thought it would. The official cash lineup that I gave scored 159.36 points. It should have been a few more because I originally had Josh Reynolds and then swapped to Trey Palmer because he woke up angry, but that's okay. We knew streaks are meant to be broken, but either way, you would have cashed in any cash contest, I promise you. If you use that lineup, it included 4 of the top 7 scorers overall. The big thing was I nailed the combo where you get the most of those guys, which was the Baker Evans stack with CMC and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Really nailed the N'Keal Shakir play where, or Khalil Shakir, I don't know why I called him Nakir. He scored the 3rd most points at wide receiver. He was only 3,800. The Chiefs, again, struggle with number 2 wide receivers. I'm trying to find out exactly who that Ravens receiver is this week, but that trend continued last week for the Bills. The only real mistake I made was not only swapping Palmer for Reynolds, which that cost me about 6 points, but earlier in the week, I was really on Cade Otton, actually, when we first did our show Thursday, and I kind of pivoted to that, to Reynolds/Palmer. And, man, if I would have stayed with Otton, it would have been, a really, really profitable day. Not only for hopefully the people that listen to my plays, but more importantly, yours truly.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, it was it's crazy that here we are now. We're down to championship weekend, but with championship weekend comes a lot of opportunities, not only for doing a game, a cash game with both games, but also to do a showdown in each individual game as well. That first one being the Chiefs and the Ravens. What do you think about this matchup?
Man, first of all, got to give huge kudos to David Hayes because outside of David, there were not many people predicting the Chiefs being 1 game away from the Super Bowl again. Say a month ago. Definitely after the Raiders loss. And, David has consistently, when we did our top 5 rankings, included those Kansas City Chiefs because of exactly what has happened, that he believes in Mahomes, he believes in Reed, and that Chiefs defense is really, really good. It's hard to argue this is not the best 2 teams in the AFC, especially when you just consider how good the Chiefs' defense is and the fact that Mahomes reminded the world, and more importantly me, why you should never bet against him as an underdog, much like Brady for most of his career. He's now 9-1-1 in his career when he gets points. I've seen a lot of people saying that, like Stephon Diggs dropping that 4th quarter bomb or obviously Tyler Bass missed field goal is what cost the Bills, but I don't think that's true. I think if you really look at the game, the Chiefs winning by 3 was the worst possible outcome. The second half alone, the Chiefs fumbled on the goal line, went out of bounds. Obviously, that was a turnover. They didn't get any points from that Bills' absurd fake punt try.
Yeah, and people talking about the missed field goal and that stuff. They went for a fake punt on their own 30 with Damar Hamlin when it was a 1-score game. I get it. There was 10 personnel on the field, but who cares? You just can't take that kind of gamble. If they don't get bailed out by that fumble into the end zone for the touchback, the missed field goal wouldn't have even come to matter. They would have lost by more. And, so I think the saying Tyler Bass cost him, Stephon Diggs should have caught that pass. It was dropped right into the bucket. He's a, top.
And Bass should have made the field goal, but it happens. And not to mention, does anybody really believe that Patrick Mahomes wouldn't have gone right back down for either a game-winning field goal with Buckhurst being one of the best kickers in football right now, or maybe even a touchdown if, say, Bass did make that field goal, because they would have had a minute and a half left, 2 timeouts. And just a reminder, the Chiefs were averaging 9 yards per play for the game. So I don't see Buffalo, standing up. And it's not even Buffalo's fault. They were so decimated on defense, especially at the linebacker position. But it's to me been a really interesting narrative to hear people being like, the Bills blew this game. It's like, no, the Chiefs allowed the Bills to hang in it by just making some terrible mistakes, which they should be blamed for. But I didn't really ever feel once Mahomes went down and scored that touchdown to open the second half that the Bills were ever winning that game.
No, it felt that way, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. Tyler Bass makes that field goal. I mean, what was it a couple of years ago when they scored, each team scored like with 30 seconds left in the game, they each scored like once or twice, and you felt the Chiefs were going to win that game from that start of the second half on. And it's just one of those things. Sometimes, as a culture and as a team, the Bills have just not been able to win the games when it matters, and that was very much shown in the early 90s with 4 straight Super Bowl appearances, losing all 4 of those games. You'd think you'd at least win 1 out of 4, and then it's just, and I think that's a big part of these games that people don't talk enough about, is just the mental edge when you kind of know, like, that the Chiefs knew they were going to win that game. I think you nailed that one on the head. And it's almost like Buffalo knew they were going to lose that game, regardless if you convince yourself otherwise. And, now that the Chiefs have a running game, too, one of their best defenses they've ever had, and a running game with Pacheco just taking up these huge chunk yards, that's a scary football team.
Yeah, and I mean, it just, again, for the Bills fans, I feel for you. As a Falcons fan, I truly do. I can sympathize. I understand the feeling. But you could also hear it in the crowd, which is something, I've told you I felt many times in big Falcons games, including when we blew a 2-touchdown lead to your 49ers in the NFC title game in 2012. Like, the crowd kind of knows that, these things don't normally go well. And I do believe that has an effect on everybody, including the players, the coaches, et cetera. And they start making really questionable decisions, like McDermott going for that fake punt, or Josh Allen going for the home run for Shakir in the end zone when Stephon Diggs would have had at least a first down, maybe more, on the easiest pass in the world over the middle. I'm not blaming him or saying he made the wrong decision, maybe, because obviously if he hits the touchdown, who knows? But, I mean, I guarantee you that Patrick Mahomes probably would have thrown that ball right over the middle, made sure he got that first down, and then you try to score. So, but despite saying all of that, I am still picking against Mahomes, and I'll gladly give the points with this Ravens team. I don't think they're getting enough credit or respect that they deserve, despite a very rusty first half versus the Texans and allowing a punt return touchdown. They absolutely dominated.
Yeah, you take that off the board, it wasn't even close.
They basically shut them out. So, I mean, both the offense and defense looked elite. The defense has officially the highest DVOA since it was implemented after the divisional round in the history of the NFL. There's a chance that, a small chance, I should say, Lamar maybe plays a little bit more like the guy in the first half than he did in the second half versus the Texans, but I doubt it. Again, I think a lot of that was 2 weeks off. And, despite the 2 weeks off, Lamar was really good. 16 of 22, 152 passing yards, 2 touchdowns in the passing game, 11 rush attempts for 100 yards and 2 scores on the ground. And that is the real issue the Chiefs are going to have, because they have struggled with with running QBs all season. They're 25th in the NFL in yards allowed to rushing QBs. We saw it again last week with Allen rushing for 72 yards and 2 scores. I think it's Lamar's legs that will be the difference in this game. My biggest concern, ironically, is not Mahomes, who I know he'll be great. Like, Mahomes is always going to be good, but it's the Chiefs' D that could, in my opinion, be the key to this upset. Running on the Ravens is not going to be as easy as it was on the Bills. The Ravens have numerous guys to put on Kelsey. I'm not saying the Chiefs won't find a way to move the ball, because, again, they have Patrick Mahomes. But it's going to be a lot more difficult than it was versus the Bills, where the Chiefs averaged 9 yards per play. But don't discount this Chiefs D, who once again stood up and played great when it mattered versus Allen and a really raucous Buffalo home crowd. Every game this season, they have not allowed an opponent to score 30 points. The Chiefs have only allowed 20 points to their opponents 10 times this year, 20 points or more. 5 of those games, 20 points exactly. Another one, 21 points. The problem, if you're picking the Chiefs, or if you're a Chiefs fan, is they're only 4-6 in those 10 games that teams have scored 20-plus points. And the reason for that is the Chiefs have only scored 24-plus points 8 times this year. The 27 that they scored was the most since 6 games ago, last week versus the Bills. And just, again, to show how good this Ravens team is, they have 11 wins versus teams with a winning record. That is a new record in the Super Bowl era. The Ravens have played 8 games so far this season against teams who made the playoffs, 7 in the regular season, and obviously the game versus the Texans in the playoffs last week. They're now 7-1 in those 8 games, averaging 35.25 points per game on offense, only allowing their opponents to score 16.25 points. For those not good at math, that is an average of 19 points of difference against the best 8 teams that they played this season.
Wild.
And the Ravens have scored at least 25 points in every one of those games and allowed 68 points combined to the Texans twice, the Browns, the Dolphins, and the 2 teams playing in the NFC title, the Lions and Niners. This is an elite team. And just kind of to show that, both of these teams are elite, to be honest, though. A snapshot of the teams. DVOA, Ravens 4th on offense, 1st on defense. The Chiefs are 8th on offense, 7th on defense. Points per game, big difference here. The offense for the Ravens is 4th, defense is 1st in least points allowed. The Chiefs' offense is 15th in points per game, where their defense gives the second fewest amount of points per game. And then if you're going just per pure team PFF grade, the Ravens are 2nd, the Chiefs are 8th. And KC played the 23rd hardest schedule this season. Baltimore played the 3rd hardest. Baltimore's plus-minus this season, 203 points. Obviously, that is first by a wide margin. The Chiefs plus 77 is 6th. So, again, I'm not going to be shocked if the Chiefs win because, again, Mahomes, Reed, really good defense. Pacheco's running it well. But, I mean, this really is a mismatch. This Ravens team, if they end up winning this week and win the Super Bowl, you can start having conversations. Is this one of the greatest teams in the history of the NFL, especially if they look as dominant as they've been in every big game since that close Rams game where they won on the punt return touchdown. Do you want me to do a showdown lineup for this one? And then I was going to do a showdown for the NFC after we preview it, and then I'll do like a 2-game slate lineup as well.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. The only one little point I'm going to add in there. This is Lamar Jackson's first AFC championship, which is crazy to even fathom. And I don't think the moments get to him like they get to some other people, but that could be the only other little thing I may see where I give the Chiefs a little bit of an advantage is just because this is Patrick Mahomes' 6th straight AFC championship game. Every year he's been a starter for the Chiefs, he's been to the AFC championship. Now, this is the first one that's not at Arrowhead Stadium. Obviously, that didn't seem to matter at all when they went up there to Orchard Park and played good, but they made some mistakes as well. So, is Lamar ready to shut everybody up about him? Obviously, he's won 1 playoff game now. I think he's 2-4 or something along those lines. But the opportunity is much more in front of Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, than it is for Patrick Mahomes. That's just my little 2 cents on that one. But yeah, let's do a showdown lineup for this one.
I think that's a great point. I think the big difference, though, is Todd Monken. Who, don't forget, has back-to-back national championships with my UGA Dogs, Go Dogs. And he showed it again last week where things weren't going right in the first half. He made adjustments in the second, and they just torched what had been a really good Texans defense for the last 2 months. But the captain's lineup, I got to have Lamar as my captain. I feel like you have to do that. 18,900. It's a lot of your salary, obviously. But, again, Chiefs give up 25th most rushing yards to QBs. Lamar rushed for 100 yards and 2 scores last week, not to mention what he's been able to do in the passing game all season. They spread it around. I'm going to put the Ravens D in there at 4,200, as well as Justice Hill for 4,600. The big thing about Hill, last week he played 55% of the snaps, ran routes on over half of the passing plays. Obviously, Gus Edwards is most likely to vulture a touchdown. I get that. But I'm just looking for points with people in this price range. He's 4,600. Right now, I have Rashad Bateman in at 3,200 as the 4th player. He seems to be the number 2 receiver who will line up against the Chiefs' number 2 corner. That is the best matchup for any Ravens receiver. I'm going to try to get more clarity on that, and I'll have that for sure on my shows Thursday and Friday. But then in that situation, I want to have some Chiefs because obviously the game could end up being close. Chiefs could win, et cetera. Chiefs could end up just winning outright. For me, the two guys you really want is Isaiah Pacheco, 9,400. I expect him to be involved in the passing game more than he has here recently. The Texans last week, Singletary had 5 receptions on 7 targets. And despite how well Travis Kelce looked last week, they have a lot more guys to put on Kelce. So Rashee Rice is the guy that I'm going to round out this lineup with at 8,600, who, again, it's not an easy matchup for him either. But I do think that if you look at Kelce, he's just not as explosive. It was a lot easier to do what he did last week with the Bills being decimated at the linebacker position. I mean, the Ravens have linebackers. They have Kyle Hamilton, who's one of the best cover sets. They got all these options to put on Kelce, and I expect that to be their number one goal is we're taking away, that nice warm blanket for Patrick Mahomes all these years, Travis Kelce, and let's really see what you can do with these receivers and Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah, definitely. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, we'll dive into the NFC Championship and get your showdown lineup that, and then we'll finish with your official play for the championship weekend. You're listening to The Inside Drive on the line with Keith Fleming. We'll be right back.
It's the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd. Mondays at 5:20 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
That is a very high-end card and very rare.
Todd talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them.
It was the first one that's ever come through my door.
Plus, we'll be taking your calls and questions at 850-215-6290. The PCB Hobby Takeover.
A platform for you to do your hobby.
Mondays at 5:20 on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your weather forecast on this Wednesday. A variety of very light showers and slight fog the rest of the day with a moderate breeze coming out of the southeast at 14 miles per hour and temps near 68. We will have a mixture of light rain and slight fog tonight and be quite warm at 63. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
Everyone makes New Year's resolutions. However, most folks seldom fulfill those resolutions. This new year, one of your number one resolutions should be a visit to that boot store. And be sure you follow through or you'll miss out on the tremendous savings on one of the largest selections of Western wear and work clothes in the area. That boot store open